or as alive, but there has been a confirmation. There has been, well, as good as a confirmation from the draft. And it's unfortunate they leaked the expansion draft, or at least leaked part of the expansion draft.
As the new franchise made its much-anticipated entrance, speculation soared about how the Valkyries would build their inaugural roster. Naturally, Caitlin Clark became a focal point in these discussions, celebrated for her exceptional scoring prowess, long-range three-point shooting, and strong leadership on the court. Caitlin has emerged as one of the brightest stars in women's basketball today. The potential addition of her talents to the Valkyries has generated tremendous buzz and anticipation among enthusiasts and analysts alike.
All right, there we go. We have our first 4 names of the reveal, and there they are. And just in case you didn't pick up on it, these names are being announced in alphabetical order from the teams of the W, so there's no ranking here in terms of who's most important. Your first thought?
In case you missed it, these selections are being announced in alphabetical order based on the teams, so there's no ranking in terms of importance. At first glance, you might assume Caitlin Clark would be among them, but when the draft results were revealed, an unexpected twist occurred. The Valkyries chose not to draft Caitlin Clark. This surprising decision left both fans and analysts stunned, igniting debates across social media platforms and sports broadcasts. The Golden State Valkyries' participation in the expansion draft marked a pivotal moment for the WNBA. It's a rare opportunity for a new team to build its roster from the ground up, and anticipation was high as fans watched to see their selections. While many anticipated bold moves, the decision to bypass Caitlin Clark, widely regarded as one of the league's brightest stars, created a wave of controversy and confusion within the basketball community.
As for the names on the back of the jerseys, we do have 4 more names that are about to be revealed in just a moment, but we do want to do a little table set of the Valkyries' notable games during what will be their inaugural season. They'll open the season in the Chase Center against the Sparks in a battle for Cali, some other marquee matchups as well. Defending champ Liberty May 27th, and they've got the Aces and Fever.
Her standout performance at Iowa made her a household name, and her seamless transition to the WNBA only heightened her impact. As a high-volume scorer and talented playmaker, she possesses the unique ability to draw crowds and secure victories. So, why did the Valkyries pass on drafting her when they had the opportunity? The reason stems from a combination of strategic planning, roster-building priorities, and the complexities of managing star talent within a newly established team. She is more than just a prolific scorer. She is a transformative player. Her knack for sinking three-pointers from seemingly unreachable distances and her exceptional court vision make her an invaluable asset. Additionally, she exemplifies leadership both on and off the court, frequently taking control during pivotal moments of the game. Any team would be fortunate to acquire her talents, or so it appears. However, constructing a new franchise goes beyond assembling star players. It involves ensuring the right fit, fostering chemistry, and implementing long-term strategies. This vision necessitated selecting players who could offer versatility and balance to their roster. Opting to draft a superstar like Caitlin Clark might have seemed like a straightforward way to make headlines, but it could have interfered with the delicate task of forming a unified and cohesive team structure. A prime example of the Valkyries' strategic selection is Temi Fagbenle. As an experienced center, Fagbenle brings defensive strength and leadership qualities that are crucial for any team seeking to establish its identity. However, her selection sparked surprise because it meant that Caitlin Clark remained with the Indiana Fever. Speculation among fans suggested that Fagbenle's departure from the Fever was closely linked to Clark's increasing influence within the team. Her on-court presence attracts media coverage, drives merchandise sales, and energizes fan communities. For the Indiana Fever, she serves as a cornerstone in their rebuilding efforts. Conversely, for the Valkyries, acquiring a player of her caliber might have introduced significant challenges. Effectively managing a star athlete requires substantial resources, both financially and in terms of team dynamics. Clark's playing style necessitates that the team's offense is centered around her. She thrives as a high-usage player who relies on having the ball in her hands. While this strategy can be effective for established teams with well-defined systems, it poses risks for a new franchise striving to find its balance. The Valkyries likely aimed to prevent their entire identity from hinging on a single player, regardless of her talent. Instead, their focus was probably on assembling a more balanced roster, capable of evolving into a cohesive unit that can compete comprehensively without depending excessively on any one individual.
From the Atlanta Dream, the Golden State Valkyries select center Ileana Rupert.
Another layer to this decision is the Valkyries' emphasis on defense and versatility. Players like Fagbenle, Alana R., and Monique Billings offer flexibility across multiple positions, enabling the team to adjust to various matchups. While drafting Clark might have been tempting, it could have constrained their ability to build a well-rounded roster. Under the expansion draft rules, teams had the option to protect certain players. Unsurprisingly, the Fever chose to safeguard Caitlin Clark, effectively removing her from the Valkyries' selection pool. This move came at a price, leaving players like Fagbenle unprotected. For the Fever, this was a strategic gamble. They prioritized securing their star player, understanding that losing other valuable role players might be an unavoidable consequence. Protecting Clark underscores her significance to the Fever's future. She's not merely a player, but the cornerstone of their franchise. Losing her would have severely hampered their rebuilding efforts. Nevertheless, some fans believe that leaving Fagbenle unprotected was a misstep, as she is a dependable contributor who brings both experience and grit to the team. By passing on high-profile players like Caitlin Clark, they signaled their commitment to constructing a team based on depth, teamwork, and strategic foresight. This method may not create immediate headlines, but it lays the groundwork for long-term success. Naturally, not everyone concurs with this strategy. Critics argue that the Valkyries forfeited an opportunity to secure a generational talent. Caitlin Clark's ability to attract fans and elevate her teammates makes her a rare asset in the WNBA. Opting out of drafting her could be viewed as a risky move, especially for a new team aiming to establish itself in a competitive environment. However, there's a valid argument supporting the Valkyries' choice. Building a successful franchise requires time and meticulous planning. While star players like Caitlin Clark can transform a team, they also introduce complexities both on and off the court. For the Valkyries, the expansion draft was about more than just acquiring talent. It was about establishing a foundation for a team capable of competing at the highest levels. As the Valkyries gear up for their inaugural season, all eyes will be on their roster decisions. Will their strategic approach yield positive results? Or will they rue the decision to pass on players like Caitlin Clark? The outcome may not be immediate, but one thing is clear: this decision will be closely examined. Understanding the Valkyries' choice to forgo Caitlin Clark requires looking at the broader context. How will this impact the future of the Valkyries and Caitlin Clark's role with the Indiana Fever? Launching a new franchise carries the inherent pressure to make a significant impact quickly. Acquiring a player like Caitlin Clark would undoubtedly generate headlines and draw fans to the arena. However, a franchise's success isn't solely determined by hype. It's about winning games and cultivating a sustainable culture. The Valkyries appear to have prioritized balance over star power. A key aspect of this decision revolves around Caitlin Clark's compatibility with a new system. Clark is renowned for her dynamic, high-energy playing style. She's a high-usage player who excels in systems designed to highlight her individual talents. However, For a nascent team like the Valkyries, selecting a player of Clark's magnitude could result in a lopsided roster. The team might feel compelled to build entirely around her, potentially compromising depth and versatility. Historically, teams that secure elite talent early on often set themselves up for sustained success. Clark's ability to draw double teams, stretch defenses, and control the game's tempo makes her a generational talent. By passing on her, the Valkyries are essentially betting on their ability to discover comparable talent in the future, a gamble that may or may not pay off.
You come in as a rookie and like you said, like you're trying to figure out a new environment, new teammates. Like you don't want to say too much, you don't want to say too little, and it's just so hard.
What if I told you that Caitlin Clark's greatest challenge wasn't on the court, but within the locker room? That her most significant achievement wasn't smashing records, but building connections? How do you excel without outshining your teammates? How do you blend in while still standing out?
It's crazy, like looking back at a year ago today or around this time, like I was just beginning my senior year of college. And obviously, you know, people knew who we were and people attended our games, but it's obviously not on the magnitude that it is now.
Yeah.
So like life just changes fast, but that's what makes it fun and cool. And, you know, quickly started a new chapter of my life too, like moving here to Indianapolis. And
in an insightful podcast interview, Clark opened up about her rookie year and how she navigated those challenges. Her comments about her teammates will make you reconsider everything you thought you knew about the Indiana Fever. What are her true feelings toward the team around her? From sophomore Aaliyah Boston to Fever's close friend Lexi Hull and others such as Kelsey Mitchell and Nalissa Smith, we uncover Caitlin's unfiltered thoughts about them. Ready for the inside scoop? Let's dive in.
I mean, it was just a crazy year because you go all the way up to the national championship game and then you're playing right away.
yeah,
You know, one of my coaches early on in my career said, you know, your rookie year is always so hard because you're in a new city, you're in a new place, you're with a new team, new coaches. There's so much that's not part of the routine that you're so used to. And you had that as like magnified.
Imagine this. Caitlin Clark, the collegiate phenom, steps onto the WNBA court for the very first time. All eyes are fixed on her, with expectations soaring high. However, Clark's greatest obstacle isn't her performance on the court, it's finding her place within the team. During an eye-opening episode of the New Heights podcast, Clark delved into her rookie anxieties. She shared,
but like in my scenario, and obviously you guys too, like you're already highly thought of, like people are turning to you to like be something or be someone. So it's hard, like you're trying to get your feet wet, but also not do too much. And I think that's kind of what I struggled in early on is like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how they're going to react.
Pressure was overwhelming, and Clark felt torn between two worlds. She spoke about feeling adrift in the locker room. Should she take the lead or go along with the group? It was a mental battle intensified by her fame. Yet, amidst the turmoil, Clark discovered a positive side. The fast-paced WNBA environment kept her concentrated.
But I think it was good a little bit too. Like you don't have time to overthink things. Like it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
like you're just on to the next. But at the same time, like you don't like, I feel like I never really ended the chapter of college. Like it was just like you've been left, but maybe that's good. You don't have a lot of time to think about it. So I think that's definitely the weirdest part of, you know, women's professional basketball and obviously college basketball too. Is just that change, but that's kind of how it has to be too. So it's just different.
Her teammates became her rock during this wild transition. While some teammates caused problems in the beginning, eventually everyone came together to thrive in the WNBA.
For not knowing, you nailed it. Well.
But also, like, I had a lot of really good vets around me too, so I feel very grateful for that. And we had a fairly young team too, so like people had been through it fairly recently, so they knew how I felt. But like, I feel like that definitely is a huge challenge, and that goes for whatever professional sport. Like, you're trying to learn, but also people are looking at you like, you got to perform and like be what they drafted you to be, and that can be tough.
In a heartfelt moment, Clark confessed, "I feel like I never truly closed the chapter of college. It was just like you left. But maybe that's for the best. There isn't much time to dwell on it." This highlighted just how abrupt and challenging the transition to the pros can be, even for a star like Clark.
You mentioned the vets, and I think, for me at least, there was a lot. Some vets were incredible. Some of the vets, obviously, you're competing for jobs, so there's a little bit there, but you lean so much as a young player on your vets, and you lean so much from even just in Philly, there's so many great players that played for the Eagles that Harold Carmichael, who was a legendary Philadelphia Eagle, was always around and willing to lend advice or anything. Did you have many former players or current players reach out to you that really helped you in transitioning into the WNBA?
As Caitlin Clark continues to navigate the high-pressure world of the WNBA, her journey stands as a powerful example of resilience and growth. From overcoming locker room challenges to embracing the fast-paced professional lifestyle, Clark is not only proving her prowess on the court, but also her ability to build meaningful connections with her teammates. Her honest reflections highlight the complexities of transitioning from college stardom to the pros, reminding us that even the brightest stars face their own set of challenges. What do you think the future holds for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever?
It's been interesting because since your article dropped, I gotta say, it has got all the buzz. If you are on X, if you're on Instagram, TikTok for the young kids, you know that Caitlin Clark is the Time Athlete of the Year. How has your 24 hours been since the articles dropped?
It's been awesome, and just the reaction. Obviously, people so excited not only about women's basketball, but about women's sports, and how excited and deserving, not only myself, but just women's sports as a whole.
Caitlin Clark just became the first WNBA player to claim Time's Athlete of the Year, but not everyone is joining the celebration. It's become increasingly clear she has her share of haters, from Cheryl Swoops, Aja Wilson, to Nalissa Smith, Diana Taurasi, and sadly, the list doesn't end there.
Cheryl, I'll start with you. What's your reaction to Caitlin Clark winning Time Magazine Athlete of the Year?
I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were.
In a twist that's both startling and yet oddly predictable, Cheryl Swoops, four-time WNBA champion and now Clark's most outspoken critic, had plenty to say about the athlete's recent win. In today's segment, we'll break down the controversy, examine the backlash, and uncover the unexpected way Clark is handling it all. While Clark had the perfect moment to fire back, she chose a different route, leaving everyone utterly speechless. Here's why her response is a masterclass in grace and leadership.
And I've grown up a huge women's sports fan, whether it was basketball, whether it was soccer, whether it was volleyball, you go down the list. I grew up loving it and watching it, so it's pretty special. It doesn't really feel real that I get to be here, but an amazing honor.
Imagine this: Caitlin Clark riding high after earning Time Athlete of the Year, yet not everyone's raising a glass. Enter Cheryl Swoops, former WNBA superstar turned unforeseen critic, stirring up drama on the Gills Arena podcast.
The fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year is pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on the game this season?
Rather than praising Clark, Swoops launches into a full-on tirade, openly challenging the very standards used to grant Clark her title. "I'm trying to understand what the criteria is," she says, her voice laced with disbelief. And she doesn't stop there. Swoops rattles off a list of other contenders she believes should have earned the honor instead. The whole thing feels like a slow-motion train wreck, leaving fans and analysts alike puzzled and asking what's really at play.
This is just probably just the impact of the sport, a little bit of it's a little bit of everything, right? So,
yeah,
when you think about, you just think about athletes of this year.
Yeah.
It's her, the swimmer.
What swimmer?
For Olympics.
Katie Ledecky.
Her performance.
Shit, you
know,
can put
in the
Simone
Olympics.
Biles back in there.
You can put her back in there. Probably LeBron from his Olympics.
As we delve further into Swoops' remarks, a pattern starts to form. This isn't her first time taking aim at Clark. When Clark shattered the NCAA scoring record, Swoops was quick to downplay it, questioning whether the accomplishment was all that remarkable given how much the game has evolved since the original milestone was set.
Put Asia Wilson in there.
That was just basketball.
So that's what I'm saying. Was it just the performance on the court, or
It's global.
else?
I think it's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
What about Wilson? She demands, leaving everyone listening in stunned silence. Is this just a careless slip, or is there something more simmering beneath the surface? Swoop's outburst lays bare a deeper struggle. It's not only about Clark now, it's the old guard facing off against the new era, tradition clashing with the future of women's basketball. Once the sport's leading figure, Swoops now watches from the sidelines as Clark captivates a whole new generation of fans.
It just keeps putting a light on the sport for everybody else to eat. And, you know, sometimes, you know, just as athletes, you know, we are competitive by nature. And, you know, we don't like when someone's getting something that we don't think they deserve.
The basketball world is left stunned. Swoops, once a beacon of inspiration for countless young athletes, including a young Caitlin Clark, now appears bitter and disconnected. Her remarks ignite intense debates online, with fans and players alike taking sides. Yet here's the ironic twist. While Swoops questions Clark's merit, Clark's star power only intensifies. Her record-breaking performances and swelling fan base speak volumes. The contrast is glaring. One athlete clinging to the past, the other blazing a trail into the future of women's basketball.
Well, it's been a crazy year. It's hard to think about. Like, I was basically just starting my senior year of college at this time last year. And then I graduated. I missed my college graduation, got drafted here in New York City, basically moved right to Indianapolis, and basically start like a whole new chapter of your life instantly, and you don't really have much time to adjust. But lucky enough, I had a really great support system and family around, and I'm from the Midwest, so didn't take me too long, but this past year has just been amazing.
How does Clark tackle this sudden wave of criticism? Does she lash out, stoking the flames? Or does she remain poised under pressure? Her approach to this conflict won't just shape her legacy, it could help reshape the entire landscape of women's basketball. Buckle up, because Clark is about to reveal the depths of her character.
It's fun to reflect back and think about all the amazing things that I was able to accomplish and the people that I got to do it with. I think that's what's made it so special is I've had my family with me the whole time, my friends, amazing teammates, amazing coaches, and it wouldn't be possible without all of them. So just really fortunate.
Remember when we said Clark was about to show us what she's made of? Well, her response to the Time Award controversy isn't just surprising, it's genuinely groundbreaking. She's redefining what leadership looks like in women's basketball. While Swoops cast doubt, Clark continues to smash records and win over fans' hearts. How does she handle the criticism? Does she shoot back? Not at all. Clark takes the high road, and that choice has everyone talking.
The number of Indiana Fever fans I saw in young girls and the way they were lighting up, I mean, you have represented something so special for the sport, but you've drawn eyes to a game that you've always grown up loving. What does that mean to you?
You know, it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm so focused and so competitive, and I love the game. I love playing. I love being in front of the fans. But over the course of probably the last 2.5 years, it's all kind of changed where, you know, it's hard to get a ticket whether we're at home or whether we're on the road.
In her Time interview, Clark doesn't merely shrug off the controversy. She faces it head on with a level of maturity that's capturing everyone's attention. Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom has been accompanied by a refreshing sense of self-awareness.
A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them the more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then you continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible. I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing.
But Clark doesn't stop there. She makes a point of recognizing the legends who laid the groundwork for her success. And guess who she gives credit to? Cheryl Swoops herself. It's a move that proves Clark isn't just an elite talent on the court. She's a class act off it as well.
Thoughts on Caitlin Clark saying she wants to use her platform to elevate black women in the WNBA have been instrumental, obviously, in building that league to what it is. Okay.
So what's the
Clark's reply? It's more than simply rising above the fray. It's a masterclass in handling criticism with grace, transforming a potentially negative moment into something uplifting. She's not just standing up for her own achievements, she's raising the bar for the entire dialogue surrounding women's basketball.
I remember my first WNBA game, one of the best memories of my childhood, and I think very influential in wanting to be a professional basketball player, wanting to be a great person, having those people to look up to and want to be like one day. So I just try to embody that every single day, and I feel like I have good perspective on, like, basketball isn't my everything. Like, yeah, I love it, and I get to do it, and it's given me a lot of really great opportunities, but at the same time, you know, win or loss, I feel like I try to be the same person.
The contrast between Clark's approach and Swoops' remarks couldn't be more stark. While Swoops questions and criticizes, Clark chooses to celebrate and uplift. This strategy isn't just winning her new fans, it's quieting her critics in the most impactful way possible. Don't mistake Clark's kindness for weakness, though. Her words carry real weight, and her actions speak volumes. She's showing that you don't have to tear others down to elevate yourself. In fact, by paying tribute to those who came before her, Clark is securing her own legacy in basketball history.
Know how you feel or how you respond to some of those criticisms when you have to deal with something that it's really not your problem. Like, I feel like it's them looking in a mirror a little bit, but it still comes down on your shoulders.
I feel like I always have had really good perspective on everything that's kind of happened in my life, whether that's been good, whether that's been bad. And then obviously coming to the WNBA, like I've said, I feel like I've earned every single thing that's happened to me over the course of my career.
As the controversy fades, one truth stands out. Clark's handling of the situation has transformed what could have been a divisive episode into a moment of unity for women's basketball. She's demonstrated that it's possible to be both a fierce competitor on the court and a gracious leader off it. But the story doesn't end here. Clark's poised response has paved the way for a much broader conversation. How will the rest of the basketball community react to this display of sportsmanship and class? Stay tuned, because the reactions are about to roll in, and they may just surprise you.
But also, I grew up a fan of this league from a very young age. Like, my favorite player was Maya Moore. Like, I know what this league was about. And like I said, like, it's only been around 25 plus years, so I know there's been so many amazing black women that have been in this league, and continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important, and that's something I'm very aware of. And like I said, like, I try to just be real and authentic and, you know, share my truth, and I think that's very easy for me. Like, I'm very comfortable in my own skin, and that's kind of been how it is my entire life.
Clark's triumph and Swoop's critique didn't just grab headlines. They sparked a wildfire of debate across the basketball landscape. Opinions are swirling at lightning speed, faster than one of Clark's signature three-pointers, and everyone wants their say. Let's break down the reactions. On Clark's side, a whole army of supporters has turned up. Fans are flooding social media with admiration for the rising star, applauding her poise under pressure and calling out Swoops for what they view as a bitter backlash. As one fan tweeted, Clark's response shows she's already a legend in the making. Swoops could learn a thing or two about sportsmanship.
And you'll never be able to make everyone happy. And someone that knows that at the age of 22, like, let's go.
I mean, I think I have good perspective on that. And like I said in the article, which turned out amazing, I thought it was great. I said, I feel like one of my best skills is just blocking things out. Like, I don't the only opinions I really care about are the people that I love, my teammates, my coaches, the people inside of our locker room, the people that I see every single day, and I know have my best interests at heart too.
How will all this drama shape Clark's future in the WNBA? That's the million-dollar question. Some believe the controversy might heap extra pressure on her next season. Others argue it's only adding fuel to her competitive fire, potentially setting the stage for a dominant sophomore year and maybe even an MVP run. But here's what nobody can dispute. Clark's influence is undeniable. WNBA ticket sales are soaring, and television ratings for women's college basketball have never been higher. Even viewers who've never followed the women's game are tuning in just to watch Clark play. The numbers don't lie. Clark isn't merely a player, she's a phenomenon, and she's redefining the landscape of the sport.
I'm just scratching the surface of the things I want to accomplish, and I'm 22. I'm still figuring out life. I'm still figuring out where everything's going to go, and I love basketball, and basketball has brought me so many amazing things, and that will continue to be probably my first passion and everything that I enjoy. And hopefully once basketball ends, I can still find things that I'm really passionate about and can do. Hopefully be an owner of a sports team one day, or open a restaurant. I don't know. Something fun. A little less stressful maybe. Maybe a coffee shop or something. I don't know.
Clark's impact isn't just about one award or one controversy. It's about the future of the game. While some question the criteria behind her Time Athlete of the Year win, Clark's response, acknowledging the greats who came before her, even Cheryl Swoops, has been a masterclass in grace and leadership. Instead of firing back, she's elevating the conversation. Her style of play, highlighted by long-range shooting and raw emotion, is inspiring young athletes to pick up a basketball and believe in their own potential. Fans are tuning in like never before, and ticket sales and TV ratings reflect her growing influence. Clark's authenticity off the court, making time for fans and remembering what it's like to be the kid in the crowd, resonates on a personal level. This isn't just about Clark and Swoops, it's about the entire trajectory of women's basketball. The sport stands at a crossroads, balancing respect for its legends with the rise of new stars who are redefining what's possible. Clark's story is bringing more attention, more debate, and more excitement to the WNBA. She's not merely breaking records, she's reshaping perceptions, inspiring a new generation, and turning the spotlight onto women's basketball like never before. As we watch Clark's journey unfold, it's clear the game is evolving before our eyes. Her rise signals a new era, one in which women's sports command center stage and future players dream even bigger. The sport will never be the same, and that's exactly the point.
First person I can honestly say that looks like Steph Curry. Like, she's not guardable right now, and she can hit almost any shot from the outside.
Almost any.
How much of a power she is out there on the court. The cool part is the way that she plays and her range and the level of difficulty on her shots is obviously a very close comparison.
From long-range shots to lasting influence, Caitlin Clark isn't just setting records, she's shattering them. Surpassing even Steph Curry's iconic three-point average, she's reshaping the future of basketball. But what happens when Caitlin Clark crosses paths with Steph Curry's legacy?
Do you think Caitlin Clark could beat Steph Curry in a three-point contest?
That's tough. Shooters can have an off night. You just never know. Caitlin has no conscience where she pulls from.
Steph has no conscience where he pulls from.
Been doing it for a long time, so can never go against Steph. Steph has been doing it for a long time.
Recently, Caitlin Clark has solidified her place in basketball history, and it's not just because of her scoring ability, it's where she scores from. New stats show that Caitlin Clark now holds the record for the longest average three-point range, an incredible 28 feet.
I think the WNBA narrative right now is Caitlin Clark, and I think that's a good narrative, but it's also not the only narrative. Caitlin is an amazing generational talent, and she's going to do amazing things. You're the number one pick. People are going to go after.
This remarkable accomplishment not only surpasses the previous record held by NBA legend Steph Curry, but it also sets a new, higher standard for shooting excellence in basketball. By pushing the boundaries of what was once thought possible, Caitlin Clark has redefined the range at which players can score, inspiring future generations to aim even further.
Do I need to call you the female version of Steph Curry, or do I need to call Steph Curry the male version of Caitlin Clark?
I think I'll just be the female version of Steph.
At just 22 years old, Clark's achievement is far more than a statistical outlier. It's a reflection of her unmatched skill, court awareness, and unshakable confidence. As the all-time leading scorer in college basketball, regardless of gender, she has already left an indelible mark on the game. With her new record-breaking 28-foot average, Caitlin Clark has not just added a new statistic to her resume, she's fundamentally redefined what it means to be a sharpshooter in the modern era. To put her accomplishment into perspective, Steph Curry, widely considered the greatest shooter in basketball history, boasts a three-point range averaging around 27 feet. At the time, that seemed untouchable. Curry's range revolutionized the game, sparking an era of deep shooting and permanently changing the way basketball is played. But now, Caitlin Clark has pushed that boundary even further, raising the bar to new heights.
I love me some Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in the history of basketball.
However, Clark has taken that revolution even further, stretching the boundaries of possibility with an additional foot of range that makes her a constant threat the moment she crosses half court. This is no accident. Clark's shooting range is the result of years of dedicated training, an innate basketball IQ, and an unwavering competitive spirit. Her shooting form is a perfect balance of precision and power, enabling her to effortlessly launch shots from well beyond the arc. But what truly sets her apart is her fearlessness. Clark isn't afraid to take shots from distances most players wouldn't even think about. Whether it's a contested three in the final seconds of a game or a casual pull-up from 30 feet on the fast break, she makes what seems impossible look completely effortless.
Shout out to Caitlin Clark. She's a certified bucket. To quote Shaq, I was not familiar with her game. I respect her game. She's a fucking baller. She was pulling up like Steph Curry from deep. But I just got one question. Matt, do you think you can beat Caitlin Clark in one-on-one?
Absolutely not. Nobody here can.
I'm busting her ass. You wild. Shit. You wild, bro.
This record also speaks volumes about the evolution of women's basketball. Clark's success stands as a powerful testament to how the game has progressed, with athletes consistently pushing the limits of what's possible on the court. Her remarkable shooting range has drawn comparisons to Curry, but it has also established her as a trailblazer in her own right, showing that women's basketball is just as dynamic, innovative, and game-changing as the men's game.
I think Steph Curry made the WNBA watchable.
Caitlin Clark, baby.
The way that Caitlin Clark was playing was a very digestible form of basketball. But now this girl out of nowhere is playing like Steph, and it was still digestible.
Meanwhile, Clark has reached this milestone in an era where defenders are more focused than ever on limiting long-range threats. Opponents specifically game plan to neutralize her, yet she continues to excel, constantly finding ways to create space and sink one clutch shot after another from deep. Her 28-foot average isn't just a number, it's a declaration of dominance. As Caitlin Clark keeps breaking records and exceeding expectations, the basketball world is left to wonder just how much further she can push the boundaries of shooting.
Is there anybody in the NBA under the age of 30 that's a bigger name, bigger jaw, bigger star than Caitlin Clark?
For now, one thing is clear. Clark has not only surpassed Steph Curry's legendary mark, but has firmly established herself as one of the most transformative figures in basketball. Her 28-foot average three-point range is more than just a record, it's the foundation of a legacy in the making. Caitlin Clark isn't just redefining the game of basketball, she's reshaping its entire business model. The sharpshooting sensation, already celebrated for her historic three-point average that outpaces even Curry, is demonstrating that her influence extends far beyond the court.
I mean, honestly, $1,000 for a family of 4 to go to a WNBA game. That seems wild. It really does. The Clark effect.
Clark now represents an incredible 1/4 of all WNBA merchandise and ticket sales. This remarkable achievement highlights her power to attract fans, drive revenue, and become a true game changer for women's sports. Moreover, in a league that has long battled for visibility and equality, Clark has sparked an unprecedented wave of fan engagement. From jerseys bearing her name to arenas packed with fans chanting in her honor, Clark is more than just a player. She's become a movement.
Caitlin Clark, her style of play it's not just her individually as a person or what skin color she is. I think it's, more so about her style of play, her playing.
According to reports, her merchandise sales alone make up nearly 25% of the WNBA's total revenue in this category, an extraordinary figure that speaks to her unmatched popularity. Whether it's fans buying her iconic number 22 jersey or scooping up exclusive Caitlin Clark-themed collectibles, her appeal is undeniable. The same goes for ticket sales. Clark's games are an event, consistently attracting record-breaking crowds.
This Nike billboard honors the all-time NCAA Division I scoring leader. I love that.
Nike has finally reached out to Caitlin Clark with a substantial apology, signaling a strategic move that goes far beyond merely adding a banner or placing a prominent advertisement in an arena. For months, fans have been left wondering why Nike, the world's leading sports brand, remained silent about its most promising young star. Their prolonged silence was nothing short of deafening. With Adidas now stepping in with a lucrative offer, Nike appears to be urgently addressing the situation to secure Clark's allegiance. The pressing question is whether Nike's apology is heartfelt or simply a reactive measure to prevent losing Clark to a competitor. This unfolding drama not only highlights the fierce competition within the sports apparel industry, but also sets the stage for Clark's potential dominance in the WNBA.
Nike struck absolute gold when they signed Caitlin Clark to an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal. So why in the world?
Caitlin Clark, women's basketball's breakout star, had an extraordinary season. She propelled her team to new heights, shattered multiple records, and captivated audiences with her electrifying play style, establishing herself not just as a player, but as a true game changer. With Nike securing her with a substantial contract, expectations soared that her first playoff game would become the most watched WNBA playoff event since 2000, potentially drawing 1.84 million viewers. However, reality fell short of these lofty expectations.
And with that, Nike has not done one thing to promote her. We have not seen any commercials, we have not seen any ads, we have not seen any Caitlin Clark merchandise, and we for sure as hell have not seen any Caitlin Clark.
For months, Nike did little to promote Caitlin Clark. There were no major shoe releases, campaigns, or significant advertisements, leaving fans puzzled by the brand's silence. This was starkly different from Nike's robust support when LeBron James entered the NBA, complete with signature shoes and nationwide billboards. Meanwhile, Adidas seized the opportunity. Rumors emerged that Adidas was ready to offer Clark a $30 million deal, positioning her as the face of women's basketball, much like LeBron for men's. Adidas wasn't willing to let Nike's oversight continue without capitalizing on Clark's rising prominence. So, what happened next? After months of neglect, Nike finally acted by displaying a massive banner of Clark at the Indiana Fever Arena. This grand gesture seemed less like a celebration and more like damage control to prevent her from moving to Adidas. Fans doubted its sincerity, viewing it as a reactive measure rather than genuine support. Nike had ample time to promote Clark, but waited until Adidas showed interest, appearing to panic at the threat of losing her. Clark didn't passively accept Nike's sudden attention. She attended Nike's event, and delivered a powerful speech about the future of women's basketball, emphasizing the sport's growth, increasing viewership, and the importance of national television coverage. Her upcoming signature shoe, modeled after Kobe Bryant's legendary line, signifies more than personal achievement. It represents Nike's attempt to finally invest in women's basketball. However, the delay has left fans skeptical about Nike's true intentions. Nike has a history of prioritizing male athletes over female counterparts, evident in their treatment of LeBron James and Kevin Durant compared to Serena Williams or Diana Taurasi. If Clark were a man, Nike would have undoubtedly invested in her from the start. This disparity suggests Nike was more concerned about losing a lucrative partnership than genuinely supporting her. Although Nike's recent actions are a step forward, they seem too little, too late. Adidas has already established itself as a brand that truly supports women's sports, making a substantial investment in Clark. The battle now hinges on whether Nike can regain Clark's trust or if Adidas will secure her allegiance permanently. Let's not forget other major brands like Under Armour and Puma are after her as well. Some fans would also love to see Clark release her own sporting goods brands. Clark is not just a phenomenal player, but a trailblazer advocating for the growth of women's basketball. Her influence extends beyond the court, inspiring young girls and pushing for greater investment and recognition of the sport. Signature shoes symbolize an athlete's star power and the brand's commitment. LeBron James's signature shoe marked Nike's full investment in him, and Clark's shoe has the potential to do the same for women's basketball. However, Nike's delay has allowed Adidas to gain an advantage, positioning themselves as the true supporters of the sport. This conflict between Nike and Adidas highlights a broader shift in the sportswear industry's approach to women's sports. Historically overlooked, women's basketball is now recognized as a significant and profitable market, thanks to athletes like Clark. Whether Nike's apology is sincere or merely strategic, it indicates a changing landscape where supporting female athletes is becoming essential. Caitlin Clark is more than a basketball player. She is reshaping the game both on and off the court. Her decision to stay with Nike or move to Adidas will have profound implications for the future of women's sports. Brands are finally recognizing her immense value, and their support will influence the trajectory of women's basketball.